So you notice how quiet it's been here today.
Welcome to Redneck and Immigrant Walk in the Bar, episode 7.
Is it 7?
Let's call it 7.
All right.
It's up to us, right? Hello, our dear audience.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to us. It's been quiet, but why is it quiet?
Well, it's been
Eerie?
almost deafening. The quiet, because the last time we convened here, there were some men here and they were working.
Yeah.
And they slammed the door.
Yep.
And my wife is doing something, and there's always something going on. This particular episode, it's amazingly quiet, and the reason is because my wife's out of town.
She left you?
That would be a much better story. Or more interesting.
For her.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you that someone asked me last night. They said, "Oh, where's your?" And I said, "Oh, she's out of town for a few days." And they go, I bet you enjoy that. The quiet and the things like that. And I started to think about that. Actually, the first couple of days, the solitude and the quiet could be seen as a positive thing. But then for me, just speaking for me, it started to get too quiet around here. Too still, and I have to kind of adapt to it. Now, my kids are grown and gone, and we don't have a dog because the dog died.
Yep.
And just as every time we start to get a new dog, we take a trip somewhere.
Right.
And we say to each other, boy, it's a good thing we don't have a dog because we have the logistics of how to deal with a dog when you're on a trip, which is a whole another podcast. But it's a transition to the solitude. How do you deal with it?
Well, at this juncture, we are, we still have our one child full-time at home, but our daughter is home from college, so we have a full house. Mm-hmm. But there were times where my family, wife and kids, they took a trip, and I've heard the same type of comments. Oh, you're a bachelor now. I've gotten old, and I was going to say we've gotten old, but I don't want to insult you and taint you with my logic. But you use the word solitude, and it's a good word. It's a big word for an immigrant, I can tell you that. But there is a very thin line between solitude and loneliness. And I'm not trying to go deep to show how, I think there's a book, 100 Years of Solitude or something. Yeah, I read it a long time ago. But I know when my family is not around, I cross that line very quickly. The solitude versus loneliness. It's for me that the noise of the house. Even though sometimes my kids, if they ever watch this, they would say, "No, that's not true. You get annoyed when the noise in the house."
Right.
Yes, but when it's not there, it's a lot worse for me. And now since some of our friends, including I want to put you in that category as my friend. Yeah, let's call that. Now when they're empty nesters, a profound word about the people whose kids are now they left the home.
Yeah.
The life stage changes, right? It's you and your spouse. Then we have Then you have children. It's me and my spouse. Then we have children, and it's like stages of life. And then children are moved on from the house, and now it's back to you and your spouse. And it's interesting that the dynamic of the household could be not different per se, but it is different, right?
Very.
It is, and it's interesting. Like one of our friends, and you know him very well, you traveled with him. I've noticed that he spends when I say deliberate, I don't mean he's forcing himself, but it's the time like even when we play tennis or we try to schedule dinner. Say, no, I have a date with my wife. No, we're watching this. And he's very deliberate about that, right? I'm sure, and you won't admit this, you are quite deliberate about that too, right? I knew you were lonely with your wife being out of town when you invited me for dinner. I knew, so not only you were lonely by yourself, but also the list of people that you know.
It's amazing. It was an astute thing for you to say.
Observation is the word you're looking for.
I was groping for the word observation. And because, you're right. It's an interesting thing. A secure man would praise solitude. the quiet. It's something people aspire to. To have silence is golden and all that kind of stuff. But then there's a fine line between feeling forlorn or lost or dare I say lonely. How did you get from enjoying the quiet and the solitude to feeling the emptiness of being lonely? There's kind of a weird little segue there, but I think it's something that you have to adapt to. Plenty of people live alone.
Yeah.
Okay. And my sister-in-law lives alone. My son lives alone. My mother-in-law lives alone. I mean, there's 3 people right there in my circle, and it's just they prefer it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that you adapt to it.
Of course.
And you don't. But if you're not used to it, it is a jump.
I think humankind, and I'm not trying to become philosophical, the only reason we survived and became a dominant kind is because of our ability to adapt.
Right.
Even when we're born, we're probably the most unprepared animal when we're born to survive. Right? Baby giraffe falls out of his mom or its mom, 6 feet on the ground, hits the ground, gets up and ready to drink water.
A long way down.
Right?
Yeah.
We are completely unprepared, but as a human race or human species, we managed to survive because of our ability to adapt. Right? And historical references in concentration camp or on a private 400 feet yacht. Somehow we adapt to both of those lifestyles, and somewhere in between, you hear those stories. I was a millionaire, then hit the rock bottom, then became so adaptability. I don't know why. Oh yes, so people who live alone, they adapt to a situation.
Yeah.
I think what we're saying is in our situation, like now your wife is out of town, right? You would think that, but for you it's not the norm.
No,
it's abnormal for lack of better, right?
It's abnormal.
So, it's funny you touched on that lonely solitude and lone. I don't know if it's security or our lost ability to be able to be comfortable being by ourselves.
Or do we become dependent
on what? On outside noise. In one of our original ones, and I know this is long time ago, why do we pray? To connect with our inner self, because God already knows everything what we're going to ask him. He knows us. He created us in his image. Why we pray? Because at that moment we're very alone in our prayer. Right. Well, we're connected to God, but alone from outside world.
Right.
What the praying ability does is helps us to connect with ourselves, with our thoughts, trying to separate all the noise outside, from the cell phone to people to everything else, to thoughts. Because I don't know how's your brain. Do you have time? Does your brain ever off? Is your brain ever off? Does it turn off?
Well, see, we mentioned this when I was telling you about yoga class. And you're supposed to have some be able to focus on just the breathing and clear your mind, which is difficult because we all have an internal dialogue. Yeah. And my internal dialogue keeps asking me dumb questions like, did you pick up the dry cleaning? And then I'm thinking, why am I thinking this? I'm supposed to disconnect. Yeah. So, this is what we're trying to achieve is this, the yin,
internally yin and yang.
The yin and yang and zen of being able to be in solitude and be alone. But it's not easy, actually. Come to find out,
it's not.
And then by extension, you get used to this life. Now you mentioned that you're not there yet because your house has a hum to it. It's got an energy to it of kids coming and going and hey mom, where's my shoes? And it's annoying,
it's interesting, right? It's annoying, but it's a lot that so-called annoyance, suddenly you miss it so much when they're not there.
Exactly. And even the wife that you complain about, she's saying, "Hey,
you know we're being recorded, right?"
Is that on?
It would be funny if it's not.
The thing is you become put upon by certain things.
Yep.
But then you remove all those things, and you think, this is the fabric of my life, and now it's gone.
Stretching this to a probably degree I shouldn't.
Oh no!
This young girl who wrote a book after her concentration camp experience. This is the second reference to concentration camp. I don't even know why.
Today?
In this particular, they were in this horrific situation on a train that was taking them.
Yeah.
And her younger brother's shoes were untied. And she started telling him, why can't you tie your shoes? And then later in her memoirs, I don't remember if it's a book or just interview, she said, that's the last thing I told my brother. Right? Mm. So her annoyance with that, and I know I got probably a little bit too far. I'll bring it back. Hopefully you'll bring me back. Right? That annoyance of the moment that probably was going on and on, right? Her brother probably didn't tie his shoes several, but then that was the last thing that she said before, I don't know where they got, Auschwitz, Dachau, Buchenwald, whatever, right, to one of those kind of horrific places in the world, and she never saw her brother again. Right? So those little annoyances that we deal in our comfort, like, can you turn that thing? I'm doing this thing.
Right.
When it's not there, the void of that is so much more louder than the noise of that when it was present.
It's true. You can take it one more step by saying for retired people.
Yeah.
They're retiring from, some people, I can only speak for myself here, there are annoyances of running a business.
Okay.
The certain admin things that you just despise doing, certain things that must be done. I have to talk to the guy, the insurance guy. I have to deal with the taxes. I have to deal with these clients. These are annoyances and friction aspects of being in business and running a business. And then when you retire, you think, I'm getting away from all that friction. I don't need that anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm getting away from it. And almost without exception, I know this from men I've talked to, they look back on it and they kind of miss it. Okay, they miss the game.
Yep.
They miss the friction. They miss the boundaries, the places they need to be, the people they need to talk to. When it comes down, to Tuesday at 11 a.m. and you have nowhere to be and no one to talk to because you're retired, you look back on those annoyances and you think, I kind of miss it.
Speaking of retirement, there would be two references there.
You're retiring?
No, hell no. I will retire let me get to the second reference before I answer that question. First one, they say statistically, and 80% of statistics is made up. That was a little double entendre there. Big word for redneck.
Entendre. Yes. The French.
Yes. Allegedly 40% of men die within first 2 years of retirement. I could be way off on those numbers, because if the retirement is perceived of the thought of retirement is margaritas on the beach, because suddenly then your life that you had filled with everything which you described before is becoming meaningless. Right now, paragraph 2, one of our good friends. Also, we can refer to him as a redneck, born and raised in Georgia, many generations. He said, retirement is your ability, and I'm grossly paraphrasing Donnie, I apologize, is your freedom to do whatever you want that day. Right? So let's say you were a corporate bigwig and now you're retired, you're now 60. It doesn't mean margaritas on a beach for the rest of your life. It's if you want to open a bakery shop, you do that. If you want to go play golf, you do that. So that's ability to choose, but rather than ending everything what you were doing before. So no, I'm not retired at all. I am working on opening my business, as what you and I have spoken, and hopefully I'll become famous
Well, I don't know how you're going to do that, but
through this podcast with you.
Well, that's a novel idea. But this has come full circle back to the solitude word
Yes.
that was the genesis of the arc of this conversation, and these people are unhappy. Many men fail at retirement. Mm-hmm. They fail. Mm-hmm. They're like, I've got to go back to work.
Yep.
I've got to do something. Mm-hmm. It's very common. And the reason that many of them, I mentioned some of the points that drove them away that they kind of miss, but I think it's the people that they used to interact with, their team, just day-to-day interactions. They miss all that. Retired athletes often mention the thing they miss that locker room. The camaraderie.
You stole
comrade. Yeah.
Camaraderie.
The camaraderie is what they miss, and now they don't have it, and it's tragic to them.
I was with a large company in a big position in late 2010s and 2011, 12 for a few years, and then after 6 years it ended, and I said, free. Oh, it was great. Freedom. Took family to South America for a month and a half, over a month, and all. It was beautiful, right? And then I caught myself, and I'm showing my vulnerability, so be careful how you coup de grace me. It was like almost turning the light off, right? Because I remember parking in the parking lot of that tall building around the perimeter in a special designated parking lot for executives, walking through the lobby, and plenty of people saying hi to you, getting on the elevator, people start talking to you, getting to your office and talking to, and a team member, and then a boardroom conversation, and this, and all the problems of that, the budget is not being approved. How can they not understand this? And all those things that suddenly when they were not there, said, oh, I'm free. I started missing. Because I think, and I'm thinking out loud, which is going to be a horrendous mistake if I vocalize, which I'm going to.
Danger.
I know. Right? I think as humans, if we're able to find a comfortable connection, or comfort and connection with ourselves, then we'll be less dependent on all the noise around us. Not the family, not the children and spouse. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the noise that we're constantly surrounded with, that even when we get tired of it and now it's not there, we feel like, oh, we're free of it, and then we start missing it.
Yep.
I think it's that lack of being back to your solitude, right? Being comfortable with ourselves. How long can you stay without your phone? Seriously, like as an experiment, like if you and I will make a bet, how long can you put down turn off your phone and go on with your day? An hour? 6?
Not long, even though I want to be
I know,
disconnected.
But this is unprepared, completely improv, like every episode we have.
I don't know, but it wouldn't be long. Probably before I'm or your family, like what happened, or your friends. I've been calling you. Right.
Well, actually, you don't have.
What have I missed?
What have I missed?
In 2 hours.
What if something happened? There were a couple of memes. They were in Russian language, but around now mom leaves the house and tells the kid, "I'll be out for 30 minutes. Here is this. If anything needs to be, call this number, and I'll call and check on you." 30, 40 years ago. I'm going out for a day. The dinner is in the fridge. If you need anything, the neighbors. And
Go to the neighbors.
60 or 80 years ago, from a village. I'm into town. Okay, you're gonna be by yourself for 3 days. The rifle is outside the house. The food is in the forest. Right? Exaggeration, but even with our children, when they go out, we this proverbial silly thing called helicopter parenting, but where is the kid, right? Then there's applications now to locate their positioning and tracking and all that. He's been there she's been on 400 for 10 minutes, right?
It sounds like you know a lot about this.
No, I have someone who tells me a lot about this, about me especially. But in all seriousness, I think it's our, with all the noise around us is getting louder every year, right? We call it we call it Twitter or X.
Yeah.
We call it Facebook. We call it AI. We call it concerns with politics. Did you see what happened on TV? Did you hear? Another war just broke down in far Asia. What's going on? There's constant noise that once it's not there, and you're annoyed with that, right?
Yes.
Why am I still hearing about another shooting? But when it's not there, we almost like I need noise.
There you have it.
I need noise.
I mean, be careful if you get total solitude and silence. Is it what we really want?
We have a really good friend by name Alan, who I referred to once in one of our previous conversations, who has a PhD from Yale, and he's a brilliant man who wrote books about the fourth quarter. Would be really cool once, if he agrees. If I were him, I would not agree to be on the podcast with us.
Back to our
and talk to him about this topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because fourth quarter, it's the retirement. Mm-hmm. Fourth quarter is your kids moved out. Fourth quarter is you're kind of by yourself, preparing for the end of the book. When I say preparing, it's not laying down and waiting to die. Not about that. It's just, getting the affairs in order. Right? Would be really cool for him to opine, look it up, on the topic. We should have an Oxford dictionary here next time.
Hey Siri, what does opine mean?
You're talking to me,
Oh,
Jim.
sorry.
Yeah. So to get his viewpoint, I'm trying to find a substitute for the word opine on the topic. Because Alan is quite comfortable with himself. Yes, he has his beautiful wife and his lovely family and great friends, and he was a pastor, and he led, including our Bible study, so many great men and women, brought them closer to Christ and in his way. But he's very comfortable with himself.
He is bald. I'd like to mention that. And
you're just trying to find deficiencies.
There's got to be something wrong with the guy, and that's it.
So if he wasn't bald, okay, what would be thing that you would say right now?
I don't have anything else. But
you would just say we're not inviting him.
He's disqualified because of his lack.
No. So if he agrees and he's part of this, will you start by pointing out his deficiency, or will you keep it to the end?
No,
to
I'd like to start with it.
Okay, deal.
So I think that's a great segue for us right now. We'll call him and we'll reconvene the next one.
So loneliness. Oh shit! Started from the back end. Solitude, loneliness. Where is that line, and how do we deal with ourselves when it's quiet? That's actually a pretty cool topic. We should continue with this one at some point, because I don't think we scratched the surface.
Well, this could launch into a spirituality thing. It could launch into a Zen thing.
Buddhism.
Why are people searching for this? Do you have to go to a monastery and wear one of those brown robes in order to achieve it?
It doesn't have to be brown. It has to be a robe.
That's not a good color for me. I couldn't do it. If you got something in a mint green,
it would be funny if one of our last names said. All right, brother.
All right, man. On the next one.
Yep.